Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, let's continue with our study of kingdom fungi. We talked about Zygomycotes, we talked about the Ascomycotes, and today we shall talk about the Basidiomycotes. These are the typical mushrooms of fungi that we think about. Okay, so mushrooms, okay? Now, Basidiomycotes are lots of 25,000 species or something like that. These are the typical mushrooms, okay, like you see over here. They make those little, I guess they're called fairy wings, fairy wings. They look like that, apparently. So they're basically mycelium. The whole thing, all fungi, they're all big mycelium, right? It's kind of funny. So, examples, mushrooms, puffballs, stinkhorns, bird's nest fungi, bracket fungi, rust and smut fungi. Basically, all kinds of fungi. So what's so special about Basidiomycotes? So their sacs, their spore-producing structures are different looking, see? They produce club-shaped spore-producing hyphae called basidia, okay? So their spore-producing hyphae are called basidia, and that's this over here. And that's different from the ascus, which was a sac. In the ascus, that we talked about before, all the spores were inside like that, right? And these kind of look different, correct? So that's why they're different. So the fungi are classified basically as to how their spores are produced, right? Even though they look very similar sometimes, right? So the club-shaped spore-producing hyphae called basidia. Here's a smut. You've probably seen this sometimes in the summertime. You try to open it. What is that? It looks like, oh my god, what happened? Don't worry, it's just a fungi. It's a smut. Okay, and here's a shelf fungi, such as this shelf. This is called a sulfur shelf fungi, which is in the trees. You see this sometime. That tree is alive, right? So they often grow in trees or on fallen logs. They're right. And mycena is elegant looking. You see this sometimes if you take a walk in the woods. Okay, so these are all examples of Basidiomycotes. Now, if you look at the structures, the typical mushroom structure over there in detail, now everything is just like big mycelium. Okay, in the end, right? So here's a stalk or the stripe, and it goes over there, opens literally like an umbrella from upside down, right? So upside down umbrella, and if you can imagine, like, these things hanging from the umbrella inside down, like mycelium thready like things, that's what gills are. Gills of a mushroom are just basically like, curtains hanging from the umbrella cap, right? All in the hyphae, like you see, like finger-like projections over there. So all the gills of the fungi over there are just basically just hanging from the roof. And at the tips of these gills over there, that's where the basidia are produced. Okay, those spore producing structures over there. So if you had a magnification of one of those curtains falling from the roof over there, you see something like this. And that's where the basidia are produced, and that's where the spores are. See the hyphae? This is the hyphae, and some of them specialize to give the basidium. That's where the spores are produced. Follow? So that's a basic structure of a fungus. Now, how does that happen? So here are some specializing hyphae, right? Coming together. Now look at these nuclei. They're different looking nuclei. I'm sure you can know what's going to happen next. They're going to come together, give a diploid zygote, right? And then they're going to go meiosis, right? And then they're going to make spores, right? I think you are right. Let's see what happens. Okay? So, oh, look at that. They come together. The black and white, you give over there, black and white over there. Right? And then they divide again by meiosis to give 4 of them. Right? And then these horns start to grow up. And then they just keep growing up. And then these nuclei migrate in those horn type shape, which are going to become the outside of the spores. Right? And then they're released. See? Like that. You see? So, very same processes. So you can understand that the sexual reproduction of fungi nearly always is the same. Okay? two nuclei come from different hyphae type of thing, and they come together, make a zygote. The zygote goes meiosis, makes 4 cells. Sometimes they do mitosis, sometimes they don't do mitosis after that, and they make spores. And the spores are again haploid spores. Now, if you look at the picture over here, you can see the spores just falling over like that, right? So if you want to spread fungus in your yard, you take one fungi, like umbrella, go like this, and you spray it all over, right? You take all the spores are going to fly. That's exactly what's going to happen, right? But of course, some fungi are edible. You know, if you take, yikes, you know. But what's so different about fungi? We eat plants, yeah? They're eukaryotes too. They're just plants. And they taste yummy. So fungi taste yummy. I like mushrooms on my pizza. I don't know about you. So you see that? Now this is just to emphasize again what happens if you look at the hybrid mycelium, right? Okay, they come together over here. Okay, then there's nuclear fusion. They're coming together of nuclei. Then this is a diploid stage. The two fused nuclei, and then they go through meiosis. They give you haploid spores, and each spore sprouts into a different mycelium. And note again, then these are different type of they're not the same spores. And then if they are different mating, if they're mating compatible, they grow into mycelium, come together, and they can make another mushroom like that. You follow? Okay. Now, in this over here, notice all the nuclei that are over here, the cytoplasm might fuse, but there is no fusion of nuclei. That only occurs in the where the spores are produced by sexual reproduction. Does that make sense? So that's it. We talked about the Zygomycota or Zygomycotes, and we talked about the Ascomycotes, the staph fungi. We talked about the Basidiomycotes, the typical mushrooms. And the last category, but certainly not the least, the Deuteromycotes. And this, the classic, the greatest example of this is penicillin. By this time, you kind of know how fungi do, right? So the story is kind of very familiar to us. Now, Deuteromycotes up. Again, like, oh my God, how many species are there? 25,000 species. They have asexual reproduction only. That's it. Okay, some examples of these are the blue cheese. You see blue cheese. Okay, the blue blotches are actually fungal spores. Yikes! You say no. It's just like having mushroom on your pizza. What's up? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's just fungal spore. So and it adds a taste to it. It adds a different taste to it. Now what you see on the right side is actually the penicillin mold. The mold, the penicillin that gives the medication penicillin. Now this looks like the conidiophores, right? Remember the asexual reproduction conidiophores that we saw? Exactly. They're conidiophores. If you remember the conidiophores, that's where asexual reproduction occurs. Remember that the spore going up on the tree by the flower, eating up the flower, eating up the fruit, right? That was conidiophores asexual reproduction. That's what penicillin does. It only does asexual reproduction. Okay? So, what's happening over there? They're spreading by asexual reproduction. They're getting more and more and more. And if you recall, Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered penicillin, right? Because he was trying to grow this Staphylococcus bacteria, put that in a petri dish, and the next day or something like penicillin, because fungus grew over there. But then he noticed that around the penicillin bug, the fungus, there was a zone that there was no bacteria. It was like somebody took an eraser and there was no bacteria over there. There was a zone of inhibitor growth. So he wondered, they must be secreting something that's preventing them from the bacteria from growing. He, as we talked about before, he actually was not able to isolate the actual penicillin. It would happen much later. It was not easy to do. But after it was discovered, the penicillin, it helped save lots of lives. Okay? The last part of this chapter we have talked about somewhat before, and that is symbiotic fungal species, and that will complete our discussion of fungi, and we shall do this in just a minute after a brief pause. Until next time, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.